Business is not sexy. Once you get past the romance of things, the romantic stage of following your passion and delving into the thing, you quickly realize that what you ordered is not matching up with what you got. Let's get into it. Business can feel very personal and not always in a cozy, fuzzy kind of way. I've figured out a few things along the way and I've got the receipts. Join me as we separate the math from the drama, one business at a time. Let's go. Welcome to the Creative Business Mindset Podcast. My name is Joke. I'll be your host. Thank you for watching and for tuning in again and again. If you like what you're hearing, please leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss anything, leave a comment, let me know that this is resonating so I know what to bring to you. All right, let's get into the episode. Today I want to talk about the dream that you were sold. That dream that business would mean freedom, flexibility, and 6 figures in 6 months, but nobody warned you that freedom sometimes looks like crying in the car before a client meeting. Ask me how I know. Wondering if this was a mistake. Let's get into all of the things. If you've been following along, I started this year on the note of starting afraid, because a lot of creatives, what we already have is our talent. No doubt we have the creativity, we have the passion, we have the talent, and it's brimming over. But what we're lacking is sometimes the confidence to start. We're lacking the business intelligence. We're lacking all the things that put together with your creativity becomes a business, and that's what we're breaking down in the first few episodes of the year to get us past that hump. The thing nobody tells you is that the brochure and the Instagram version of the business and the reality, the actual reality, are two very different experiences, polar opposites. And I think that we need to have an honest conversation about this, not to discourage you, but to prepare you so you can stop thinking something is wrong with you when the reality doesn't match what you're promised. So let's start by talking about what they sold you. When you were dreaming about starting a business, you had a vision, and that vision was compelling. You thought you were buying freedom, real freedom, the ability to work from anywhere, control over your time, the power to set your own schedule, to be your own boss, to never ask anyone for permission ever again. That sounds good to me. You thought you were buying creativity. Finally, you get paid to do what you love, to use your gifts, to build something that matters to you, to wake up excited about your work instead of dreading Monday mornings. You thought you were buying flexibility. School pickup, no problem. Want to take Fridays off just because? Yes, you're the boss and you can do it. The packaging looked beautiful. Every entrepreneur you followed seemed to have figured it out. The testimonials were glowing, the befores and afters were inspiring. Every post you see made it look achievable. Some even make it look easy. And maybe, just maybe for a while, you hesitated, you had doubts, and you wondered if you were ready. But eventually, the dream won. I'm glad that it won. So you took a leap, and I'm glad that you did. You filed the paperwork, your LLC, you invested the money, your branding, your website, you told people what you were doing, you built the website, you made the offer, you started afraid. Just like we talked about in this series, you did the brave thing. And then the package arrived. When you opened it, you realize this is not what I signed up for. Before we get into what you actually got versus what you ordered, I need to address something that's been bugging me for a long time. You know those stories you see, I made 100K in 90 days post, and then I went from 0 to 6 figures in my first year testimonials. There are parts that they don't tell you how they got to that place, if they actually got there. I have told my story of how I made 6 figures in my first year. I have the receipts. And I tell the behind the scenes stories as well. I don't hide the fact that it took me to burnout before I realized that, oh my gosh, I needed a different way to do this. I was tired spiritually, physically, mentally, in every way that you can imagine until I had to stop. And those are stories that people need to hear. Most of the advice comes from people who had advantages, real tangible advantages. They had capital, they had savings, they had access to funding, the ability to invest in their business without worrying about rent. And that is not all of us. They had connections, a network that opened doors, people who said yes to them before they even asked the question, introductions that led to opportunities that you're still trying to create from scratch. They had a cushion, a partner with a stable income, family who could help in an emergency. They had the privilege of falling without losing everything. They had access to education, to mentors, to rooms that you're not even sure how to get into, but they don't mention that part. They frame it like mindset and hustle are all you need. Like if you've been struggling, you're not trying hard enough. Like if it's not flowing, you must be doing something wrong. And that's not just misleading, it's actually harmful to the process, because when you're out there doing everything right, working your ass off, and it's still hard, you start to internalize it. You start to think the problem is you. You compare your behind the scenes to the highlight reels. You compare your year 1 to somebody's year 5. You compare your solo journey to their team of God knows how many, and you feel like you're failing when you're actually just starting. Hey, quick word before we continue. If you're afraid to start a new venture, or you're ready for the next step but not sure how to get there, I want to invite you to join me inside Business Therapy at jokedurojaye.me. This is where we take it to the next level. We talk it out and map out your next steps so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. jokedurojaye.me. I'll leave a link for you in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the episode. Let's be clear. The flow is not always flowing in the direction that you want it to. Nobody posts about the breakdown they had in the bathroom after their first big launch flopped. Nobody talks about the night they had to choose between paying themselves or paying for the software subscription that they need to keep the business running. Nobody mentions the time they put rent on a credit card because business was in a slow season and they'd already reinvested everything. The truth is, most entrepreneurs are juggling more than you know, and they're doing it quietly. So let's talk about what actually came in the package. When you start that business, you got freedom, real freedom, which means you're free to work every single day, including weekends, including holidays, because when you're the only one responsible for the business, it's hard to turn it off. Your brain does not clock out at 5 p.m. You don't get to leave work at work. Now I've gotten to a place where I don't have to work when I don't want to work. I have a team that holds forth for me, and work is a choice for me at this point. But it takes time, it takes systems, it takes help, it takes the right people to get there. You think about work at dinner time, if you actually make it to dinner. You dream about it. You wake up in the middle of the night with ideas or anxieties or both. And that's the freedom nobody wants you about, the freedom to never stop working because there's always something else you could be doing, right? You got flexibility, real flexibility, which means you're answering clients' emails at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday because they need it by morning and you can't afford to lose them. It means rescheduling your life around other people's schedules because you're still building and you can't say no yet. You're not in a position to turn down business. It means the boundary between work and life gets very, very blurry. Then it disappears completely at some point. When my kids were younger, I used to drag them along with me to everything, pick them up from school and then throw them in the back seats. They are carrying pillows and decor on their lap, and we're going back to the stage that I left, that I hadn't finished, that I needed to go back and finish up. And I drive them over there and we finish up, and we stop at McDonald's for lunch. Hey, we did what we needed to do at the time. But those are the parts that people don't see and people don't share enough. You got to be your own boss. Now you get to be your own boss, which sounds like the dream. But then you realize that your boss is kind of a workaholic. Your boss doesn't believe in PTO. Your boss keeps moving the goalpost, and your boss never gives you a performance review that says, hey, you're doing great. take the day off. And that creativity that you were so excited about, the thing that made you want to start in the first place, it comes with invoicing, bookkeeping, a client management, tech troubleshooting when the website breaks at midnight, and customer service, marketing, taxes, all the taxes. So yeah, you get to do the creative work, but that is maybe 20% of your time if you're lucky. The other 80%, that is all the stuff nobody talks about, and we need to talk about more often. But the dream is not a lie. It's just incomplete. It's partial. The picture is not complete. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that you put down and you don't have the complete picture. And when you only see the partial picture, the full reality feels like betrayal when you finally experience it. Let's go even deeper, because I think there are 3 invisible parts of business that nobody prepares you for. And these are the parts that make people quit too quickly. The emotional labor. Because entrepreneurship is deeply, deeply personal, no matter what we say. And I've said this in the past that it's business, it's not personal. But guess what? Entrepreneurship business is always personal, because as long as you're the one running it, it's not a big corporation, it's a small business. Your business is tied to your identity in a way a job never was. 9 to 5 work at your corporate job, you left at 5 p.m. and it's done. It's not you, it's not personal. So when things are not going well, it doesn't feel like the project failed. It feels like you failed. You internalize it. When you launch something you poured your heart and soul into and you hear crickets, it's not just disappointing, it's devastating. When you watch someone else do the same thing that you're doing and they get 10 times the traction, it's not just confusing, it's crushing. It crushes your spirit and you start to wonder, what am I missing? What do they have that I don't? Why is it so hard for me? And then you have to show up online the next day like everything is fine. You have to post, you have to engage, you have to keep going, even when you feel like crawling into a hole. Number 2 is the financial pressure. People don't talk about the financial reality of starting a business. You do your taxes and you realize, I made money this year, good money actually, but I also spent all of it keeping the business running. You reinvested everything and now you're still broke, or even more broke than you were when you had the job, the 9 to 5. You're working twice as hard for half the security. And the worst part, you can't even complain about it because you chose this. You wanted it so badly. So it feels like you don't have the right to complain or to say it's hard. But the truth is, it is hard. And pretending it's not doesn't make it any easier. Number 3 is the identity crisis. And this one, it sneaks up on you. You wake up one day and you think, what am I even doing? Am I cut out for this? Did I make a mistake? You start to question everything. Your skills, your offering, your pricing, your messaging, your entire approach. And it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because entrepreneurship forces you to confront yourself in ways a job will never do. And you can't hide behind a company anymore. You can't blame the system. You cannot just coast. It's all you. And that is terrifying. And this is where most people quit. Not because they weren't good enough, not because they didn't have what it takes, but because they didn't expect the middle to feel so messy, so hard, crushing. They were prepared for the exciting part, the announcement, the first sale, but they weren't preparing for the loneliness. Yes, business can be very lonely, especially when you're the one in charge. Even if you employ people, it's still lonely at the top because you are in a totally different cadre from your team. So you're not prepared for that. The loneliness, the doubts, the slow season, the rebuilding after things fall apart, because sometimes they will fall apart and you have to pick it up and rebuild. And the kicker is, even when you make it, the challenges don't go away. They just evolve. You have a different set of challenges. You're trading one set of problems for another. The stakes are higher. The decisions are harder. The pressure increases. Success doesn't mean it gets easier. It just means that you get better at handling hard. let's run a few common myths through the reality filter for a moment. Indulge me, because I think clearing this up will help you adjust your expectations. Myth number one: you need to quit your 9 to 5 to be taken seriously as an entrepreneur. The reality: you can fund your dream job with your day job, and there is no shame in it. The goal is not to struggle, it's sustainability. Yes, the more time you put in it, the more you get out of it. That's true for anything and everything. But not everyone is in a position to just jump ship and go into entrepreneurship. Some of the most successful businesses were built by people who kept their jobs while they figured things out. They could take risks without risking everything. And there's something to be said for being able to sleep at night. For me, when I started, we had a 2-income household, so it wasn't so hard. But there's no nobility in being broke. There is no prize for doing it the hard way. So if you have a job that pays your bills while you build, that is strategic. It's smart. It's a privilege. It's not a weakness. And then myth number 2 is, if it's your passion, it should come easy. Yeah, right. Reality: your passion will get you started. Discipline is what keeps you going when passion fades. And passion will fade repeatedly. There will be days when you don't feel passionate, when you don't feel inspired, when you're just tired and you want to quit. That is normal. That is part of it. Passion is the spark, but discipline is the fuel that keeps the engine going. But if you're only running on passion, you're going to burn out very fast. Ask me how I know. Adrenaline, passion, and I was saying yes to everything, every order. I didn't want to lose business. I wanted to please everyone. I was burning on both ends until there was this little left of me and I had to rebuild. Reality number 3: you should always be scaling, always growing, always expanding. The reality: sometimes the next best move is stabilizing, not scaling. Growth for the sake of growth is how a business can break. And I've been there, done that. I tried to grow too fast. Guess what? I came back down and started to grow more laterally than expanding. There are so many different ways that you can grow without expanding, without growing. You end up with more overhead, more expenses, and less profit. And sometimes you need to pause. I took a pause. I actually took a break when I was burning out. I had to consolidate. I had to get my foundation solid again, build the systems that are now serving my business. Before you add another floor to that building, stabilize the foundation. That's wisdom, because if you build too fast, too high, it's going to collapse. And so let that sit for a second. So not everything is to grow and expand because you see this X person on Instagram and they're like, you can 10x your business if you do this. What if you don't want to 10x? Not everybody has to 10x. Do you know what it takes to 10x? They say the word, but they don't give you the full picture. It takes a lot for you to 10x, to go from where you are to 10 times what people are preaching. And it's doable. But you have to get the full picture and understand what goes on behind that 10xing. This person is 20xing because they say so. What is that taking out of them? And what is it taking out of them? So why do we not hear this full story more often? I've been thinking about this a lot, and here are a few reasons that I think. Because pain doesn't go viral, but polish will go viral, right? The algorithm rewards the aspirational, the inspirational, the look how far I've come content, but it doesn't reward I'm in the middle and it's messy and I don't know if this is going to work. I don't share a lot of my struggle in real time because I find that most people can't handle it and people project. And so I talk about it when I've gone through it. Sometimes I'm talking about it in real time and I talk about the story behind the glory, because there's always a story behind all the glorious things that you see on the internet. So by the time people share, it is already sanitized. It's a story with a happy ending. And we all love to hear that. But I think that it is important for us to Keep telling the true stories behind the glory. Whether it's in real time, whether it's after the fact with a happy ending to both. But when you're in it, you don't have the happy ending yet. You just have the middle, and the middle is so hard to articulate when you're still living in it. So it's really hard to share that part. But vulnerability is a risk, especially for women and creatives. You're just trying to be taken seriously. What I've learned in my time is not to sugarcoat the journey, because if you don't tell the whole story, you're setting people up for failure. This is why I speak the way I do, and that's why I built business therapy, because entrepreneurship is very, very personal. It's emotional, it's messy. We're not building machines, we're building dreams, and it's okay if the process is loud and chaotic and not cute. It's okay if your business doesn't look like the ones you see online. It's okay if it's taking longer than you thought. It's okay if you're struggling. The package did not match the picture, but that doesn't mean you got scammed. It just means that you need to adjust your expectations so the reality doesn't break you. Let me shift, because yes, business whoops your ass, but it also builds your character in ways nothing else can. Let me tell you what else comes in the package. You learn resilience. Not the motivational poster kind, the reels kind, the kind that only comes from rebuilding something 3 times, 7 times, showing up the 10th time. You learn that failure is not fatal, that setbacks are part of the process, that you're stronger than you thought you were. You get that resilience for building a business. You figure out what's worth your energy and what isn't, what advice to take and what to ignore, what opportunities to say yes to and which ones to walk away from. When you're building your own thing, you learn all of that resilience, character building, you're discerning, and you learn to trust your gut. You learn to listen to your own voice instead of everybody else's input. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to give you permission. Nobody's going to validate your ideas before you execute them. You must become the person who makes the decision, who takes the risk, who figures it out. And that kind of self-leadership, it's priceless. Before you lead other people, you first learn to lead yourself. And you build something that's yours, not your employers, not your clients, yours. Something that has your name on it. Your name is now on the door. And even when it's hard, there's something deeply satisfying about that, knowing that you built this, you created this, you didn't wait for anyone to choose you. The hard moments, they are not evidence that you should quit. They're evidence that you're learning, that you're stretching, that you're becoming. You want a business that lasts, then let go of the fantasy and commit to the foundation. Stop chasing aesthetic, build stamina instead. And for the love of everything, stop comparing your chapter 3 to somebody else chapter 20. They are not ahead of you. They're just on a different timeline. So my friend, if your business is feeling heavy right now, I want you to pause and ask yourself 2 questions. What part of this process did I romanticize? What did you expect to be easier than it is? What surprised you? What feels harder than it should? Name it, get specific. And then number 2, what would it look like to honor the real work without shaming yourself for struggling? What if the struggle is not proof that you're doing it wrong? What if it's just proof that you're actually doing it? What if you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and the only thing that needs to change is your expectation and your mindset that it should feel different? That one shift, that one reframe will change how you show up this week. I promise you. Hey, if this episode hit home, do me a favor, share with someone who is in the thick of building something, who is questioning whether they made the right choice. Someone who thought they bought a laptop lifestyle and ended up with a masterclass in resilience, because that's what business will do for you. Send it to them, tag them, let them know they're not alone in this. And if you're ready for a space where you can actually process your business, make decisions with real support and stop feeling like you're doing it wrong. That is what I created business therapy for. It's not coaching where I tell you what to do. It's a space where we separate the mad from the drama so you can see your business clearly and make decisions with confidence. Book a session at jokedrojaye.me and DM me on Instagram, reality check. Around here, we don't do fluff, we don't do fantasy. We do real conversations with real strategies that actually work in the real world that we live in. Listen, I want to be really clear about something though. The dream is still valid. Entrepreneurship is still very much worth it. Building something of your own is still one of the most meaningful things you can do. But you can't build a business based on fantasy. You need to be honest with yourself. You need realistic expectations. You need support and you need endurance. That package may not match the picture. What you got may not be what you ordered. I know that. You know that too. That what you got is not exactly what you ordered, but it can still be worth it. You have to decide if you're willing to keep building, even though it's not what they say it would be. If you're willing to do the unglamorous work, the part that is not sexy, to show up on the hard days, to keep going when nobody's watching and nothing's working and you're not sure it's going to pay off. If you're willing to do that, welcome to the club. We meet in the messy middle. Sometimes we're wearing whatever we wore yesterday because, hey, we forgot to do the laundry and we have a deadline. But we're here, we're still going, we're showing up, we're figuring it out together. That's it for today. It's a wrap. You've been listening to the Creative Business Mindset podcast, produced and edited by the Media Designers. I'm your host and favorite business therapist, Joke Durojaye. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. It's a wrap.